Welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to radically deconstruct some deeply ingrained cultural imagery surrounding 1st century Judea and the historical figure of Jesus. For centuries, our visual understanding of this era has been shaped way more by European paintbrushes than by actual Middle Eastern history. But by looking at clear historical, archaeological, and linguistic evidence, we're going to peel back those layers. What we'll uncover is a reality that's just so much more gritty, fascinating, and profound than the stories you might be used to hearing.
Okay, let's dive into this. Ask yourself for a second, do we really see the 1st century reality? Or are we just looking at a Renaissance reflection? We've all inherited this massive amount of visual assumptions from Western art. When we picture biblical scenes, we almost always picture them through the lens of European artists who lived over 1,000 years after the events actually took place. They simply painted what they knew, their own landscapes, their own architecture, their own cultural norms. But to truly grasp the source material, we've got to unlearn those assumptions. This brings us to section 1, the Renaissance Jesus illusion. So for centuries, the traditional Renaissance depiction has shown us this tall, fair-skinned man with long, flowing light hair and delicate features. And hey, it's a beautiful aesthetic, but historically, it completely misses the mark. The reality of a 1st century Galilean Jewish man absolutely shatters that familiar myth. In reality, we're talking about olive skin, naturally adapted to the scorching Middle Eastern sun, short, dark hair, and the thick, calloused hands of a serious physical laborer. It completely replaces this fragile icon with a gritty, hardworking reality. And the historical texts back this up perfectly. Documents from the era, like 1 Corinthians 11:14, actually reflect that short hair was the cultural norm and expectation for men at the time. But this rugged nature, it wasn't just cosmetic. This was a man whose lifestyle built immense physical stamina. Think about it. His ministry was entirely on foot. He hiked thousands of miles across incredibly rugged, unforgiving terrain. You simply cannot do that without intense physical conditioning and endurance. Let's move to section 2 and see how this builds, rethinking the Bethlehem Inn. So the crucial point is the Greek word katalemea, which is found in the original text of Luke 2:7. This literally translates to guest room. Historically, we've translated this as an inn, which automatically conjures up images of a commercial hotel or a roadside motel with a blinking no vacancy sign, right? But that whole concept didn't even really exist in that culture. Translating this single word incorrectly is exactly what invented the modern myth of the Holy Family being banished to an isolated, freezing wooden barn out in the snow. To really ground the true, consistent meaning of this word in biblical history, all we have to do is look at its usage elsewhere. The exact same Greek word, kataluma, is used later in the text to describe the upper room where the Last Supper was held. And honestly, no one pictures the Last Supper happening out in a barn, right? It was a spacious interior guest room. By just understanding the linguistics here, we completely change the setting of the whole story. Let's actually build a historically accurate 1st century Judean family home from the ground up, just to picture this. Step 1 is the lower level. In this culture, valuable animals weren't just left out in the cold, they were brought inside the ground floor of the house at night for security, and honestly to generate heat for the home. So this lower level is where the mangers, or feeding troughs, were naturally located. Step 2 is the upper level, which is the katalama, that family guest room. If the guest room was already full of other relatives, the family would simply stay in the warm, enclosed lower level of the house. So Jesus wasn't born in isolation in a drafty outdoor barn. He was born in a warm, bustling domestic environment, totally surrounded by family and the everyday realities of ancient home life. Which leads us right into section 3, master mason, not carpenter. The Greek word Tekton, found in Mark 6:3, is literally the key to unlocking a massive cultural misunderstanding. For centuries in the West, we've translated this simply as carpenter. We picture a man quietly shaving soft wood in a dusty workshop. But in 1st century Galilee, Tekton actually meant a master stonemason or a general builder. Now, what's really interesting here is how the physical landscape itself dictated the profession. 1st century Galilee wasn't surrounded by lush, sprawling forests of timber. It was a rocky, arid region. Heavy stone was the primary building material, not softwood. So being a tekton actually meant you were out there quarrying, lifting and shaping massive blocks of rock. It was a rugged, heavy lifting profession that required immense physical strength and precision. So ask yourself, if he was shaping heavy stone instead of soft wood, how does that change the metaphor of the living stone? This really bridges the gap between the literal physical labor and those profound metaphorical teachings. When he later speaks of cornerstones, foundations built on rock, and being a living stone, he isn't just using abstract poetry. He's drawing directly from decades of sweating in the sun. expertly fracturing and setting thousands of pounds of solid rock. It just gives his teachings an incredible, undeniable weight, literally. Let's move into our final section, Section 4, the Lost Aramaic Idioms. This is a crucial warning for anyone studying ancient texts. Middle Eastern idioms and hyperbole do not translate literally into the English language. When we apply Western literal interpretations to ancient texts, it often causes us to miss the actual culturally rich point entirely. We end up fiercely debating the literal mechanics of a sentence while completely ignoring the vibrant, exaggerated poetry that a first-century audience would have instantly understood. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. Take the idiom of the good eye or evil eye found in Matthew 6. A Western literal interpretation thinks this is about physical eyesight or maybe some spooky dark magic curse. But the first-century Hebrew meaning is super simple. Having a good eye was a well-known idiom for generosity, and an evil eye meant stinginess. Or take the famous eye of a needle. We immediately imagine an actual small sewing needle and a literal camel trying to squeeze through it. This has sparked some fascinating historical debates. Some historians suggest the eye of the needle was actually a small night gate in Jerusalem that a camel had to crawl through on its knees. Other linguistic experts argue it's just pure classic Middle Eastern hyperbole, an intentionally absurd, hilarious image meant to prove a point about impossibility. But either way, it is definitely not a literal sewing needle. So we've stripped away the Renaissance paint, the snowy wooden barns, the soft woodwork, and the literal Western linguistics. We are left with a resilient, olive-skinned, stone-shaping builder born in a bustling family home, speaking in brilliant cultural hyperbole. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. How does encountering a rugged, stone-shaping builder change your foundation of these ancient texts? Does it make the history feel just a little more real to you? I really hope this explainer has sparked your curiosity to look past those cultural assumptions we've been handed and to dig deeper into the incredible unspoken reality of the first-century world.